There's something wonderfully peculiar about being Canadian, those little routines that feel completely normal to us but leave the rest of the world scratching their heads in confusion. The everyday habits nobody else quite gets. The traditions that make perfect sense when you've survived -30 winters. Today we're diving into strange Canadian habits only true Canadians understand. From our bizarre relationship with winter gear to our linguistic quirks that baffle tourists, these are the things that make Canada truly Canada. There's always someone. It's -15, snow is falling, everyone's bundled in parkas. And there's one person in shorts, boots, hoodie, bare knees, completely unbothered. Tourists stare. Locals barely notice. This is the Canadian winter flex. It's part climate acclimation, part stubborn pride, part humor. After a certain point, your body adjusts. What felt unbearable in October feels manageable by January. So someone decides, you know what? It's not that cold, and wears shorts to prove it, mostly to themselves. Are they comfortable? Maybe. Are they making a point? Absolutely. The shorts in winter person is unstoppable, a living reminder that Canadians don't just survive winter, they refuse to let it dictate their wardrobe. And when a visitor asks, "Aren't you freezing?" the response is always the same calm confidence. Nah, it's fine. Because in Canada, redefining fine is a winter survival skill. Canadian Tire money wasn't just a receipt, it was a reward system that turned boring errands into treasure hunts. You'd buy windshield washer fluid or a garden hose, and the cashier would hand you these paper bills in 5-cent, 10-cent, and if you were really lucky, dollar denominations. They looked official, complete with the Scottish founder's face and intricate designs. Kids saved them in envelopes. Parents stashed them in glove compartments. Grandparents counted them like bank tellers, smoothing out the wrinkles, before presenting them for a new purchase. The genius was in the psychology. These tiny rewards made people feel like they were getting something free, even though they had already spent money to earn it. But the feeling when you bought something entirely with Canadian Tire money, that was walking out of the store like you'd pulled off a heist. You'd done the math, saved for months, and now you were leaving with a new shovel or camping lantern without touching your real wallet. It taught a whole generation to treat shopping like a game, to find joy in the accumulation of small wins. The bills eventually went digital, but anyone who grew up in the physical money era still checks their old drawers, hoping to find enough for one last victory lap. Canadian coins aren't just change, they're a lifestyle. The loonie and toonie, those chunky gold and silver circles, live permanently in car cup holders like tiny insurance policies. You hear them rattle when you turn corners, they clink. Together in winter, a metallic soundtrack to every drive. This isn't laziness, it's strategic living. Coins in Canada are durable currency. A toonie buys real coffee, not vending machine sadness. A handful of loonies covers parking downtown or a quick lunch upgrade. So Canadians keep a stash. Coffee run money, emergency meter money, the just one more stop fund. The ritual is automatic. You park, hear that cup holder rattle, reach in without looking, and know you're covered. Foreign visitors find this strange. Why not use cards? But Canadians know cards fail. Machines reject them. Coins are honest. They work when everything else doesn't. Plus, there's something satisfying about paying for a medium double-double with exact change pulled from your car's metal treasury, walking away knowing you've just lived the most Canadian moment possible. In Canada, your winter hat becomes a personality trait. There's the work toque, stretched out, stained, possibly with a small hole. There's the going out toque, clean, fitted, the one that makes you look like you have your life together. And there's the backup toque, living in your car or office, just in case. This isn't excessive. This is survival hierarchy. Walk into any Canadian home in winter and you'll see them, toques piled by the door like helmets in a medieval armory. Each one tells a story. The one from the ski trip, the one your aunt knitted, the one you grabbed at a gas station during an emergency cold snap and somehow still wear. And yes, Canadians judge. Quietly. A good toque signals that you understand winter. A bad one, thin, riding too high, not covering the ears, announces you either just moved here or you've given up. The sacred ritual happens daily. Pull down, tuck ears, adjust the fold, pretend the wind isn't making your eyes water. Master this, and you're not just warm, you're Canadian. To a Canadian, a snow brush lives in the car year-round. You don't question it, just like you don't question seatbelts. But travel somewhere warm and you realize how strange this is. A tool you literally never need for 8 months, yet refuse to remove. Winter makes it non-negotiable. The scrape, scrape, scrape sound of clearing ice at 6:30 in the morning, the crunch of snow piled on the hood, the frozen wiper blades that won't budge until you've gently pried them free. You clear a tiny porthole in the windshield, just enough to technically see, and sit there waiting for the defroster to do its job, pretending you're not piloting a submarine through a blizzard. The brush itself becomes personal. Some are telescoping masterpieces with foam heads and ergonomic grips. Others are gas station specials, half broken but still functional. You know its weight, its reach, the exact angle needed to clear snow without scratching paint. And when spring finally arrives, the brush stays, because removing it means admitting winter is over, and Canadians know better than to trust that lie. In colder regions, Canadians plug their cars into outlets overnight. Not to charge batteries, though that's coming, but to keep the engine block warm via a block heater. Extension cords snake across parking lots like electric spaghetti. Outlets sprout from apartment buildings and garages. This is normal winter survival. The system works. Plug in, stay warm, start clean in the morning. But the forgetting? That's the real Canadian experience. You're running late, jump in the car, turn the key, and drive forward, until you hear the snap and realize you've just invented new swear poetry. The cord is dangling, the outlet is sparking. You've added destroyed extension cord to your day before breakfast. Some cars won't start without it. The oil's too thick, the battery too cold. So you develop habits. You tie the cord to the door handle. You set phone reminders. You triple check before backing out. Because nothing says, I'm Canadian, quite like the panic of wondering if you just ruined your electrical system before your first coffee. Telling and preparing this video took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the video. The mudroom isn't just an architectural feature, it's winter logistics headquarters. Hooks packed tight with parkas, snow pants, scarves, mittens clipped together so they don't vanish into the void. Boots lined up like soldiers, salt-stained and soggy. If your house doesn't have a dedicated mudroom, you create one by force. A corner of the entryway, a bench, a desperate system of organization. This matters because Canadian winter turns entering your home into a full costume change. You arrive, start peeling layers like an onion, coat, boots, hat, gloves, sometimes a second sweater, and slowly re-emerge as a normal human. Kids know the drill. Everything has a spot. Nothing touches the clean floor until it's been de-snowed. The mudroom smell is universal. Wet wool, rubber boots, that specific cold air scent that clings to fabric. It's chaos, but it's organized chaos. And when you finally make it past the mudroom into the warm house, you've completed the most Canadian transition ritual that exists. Road salt is Canada's blunt instrument against winter. It works. Ice melts. Sidewalks become walkable. Fewer people slip and fracture things. But it's also everywhere. White crust on boots. Salt lines at the bottom of jeans. A gritty film on car doors. You track it into the house, and your floors become a winter map. White trails marking every path you've walked. Canadians accept this. We throw salt on steps, driveways, walkways, sometimes just toss it like we're seasoning a giant driveway steak. It stains, it corrodes, it gets into carpet fibers and refuses to vacuum out. But ice is a real hazard, and salt is the tool that keeps people upright. So we shovel, we salt, we shovel again. We rinse boots in the mudroom. We buy special mats. We pretend. The white residue is temporary. even though we know it'll be there until April. And every spring, when the snow finally melts, we discover just how much salt we used. Our lawns crispy, our car undercarriages slightly more corroded, but hey, nobody broke a hip. When Canadians say going to the lake, they're not talking about a swim. They're referencing an entire seasonal ritual: cottage weekends, summer resets, family traditions spanning decades. You pack the car, coolers, bins, bug spray, folding chairs, dock boards, maybe a canoe strapped to the roof. You drive out, leave the city behind, and arrive at a place that smells like pine, sunscreen, and last year's memories. The lake isn't just geography, it's identity. Some families have had the same cottage for generations. Others rent, borrow, or visit friends. But the routine is sacred. Unpack, settle in, spend days doing very little while somehow staying busy. Fishing, reading on the dock, listening to loons at night, eating, meals that taste better because you cooked them on a camp stove. The lake is where Canadians decompress, where kids learn to swim and paddle and appreciate quiet. And when someone asks, "What are you doing this weekend?" and you say, "Going to the lake," everyone understands. No explanation needed. It's the Canadian summer blueprint. In parts of Canada, especially Ontario, people don't say electricity bill. They say hydro bill. The power company? Hydro. The trucks fixing lines? Hydro trucks. This confuses outsiders immediately because hydro sounds like water. And why are Canadians paying for water twice? The answer is infrastructure. Much of Canada's power comes from hydroelectric dams. Water generates electricity, so hydro became shorthand for power itself. It's embedded in daily language now. You say, "Did you pay the hydro?" And everyone knows you mean the electric bill. Friends visit from abroad see Hydro One on a utility truck and ask if it's a water company. You explain. They nod, still confused. But to Canadians, it's seamless. The word carries history, decades of dams, provincial power systems, the structure of how energy was delivered. So you keep saying hydro, and eventually it just becomes one more linguistic quirk that separates you from the rest of the world, right alongside toque and double-double. Saturday nights in Canada have a soundtrack, the Hockey Night in Canada theme song, the play-by-play voices, the sound of skates cutting ice through TV speakers. It's not always about watching intently. Sometimes the game just runs in the background while life happens around it. Snacks come out, family gathers. The house buzzes with familiar rhythms. This is cultural infrastructure. For decades, Hockey Night was the thing that unified a massive spread-out country, people in different time zones, different provinces, all tuning into the same broadcast. You'd say just one period and suddenly it's midnight and you've watched the whole thing plus overtime. Even now, with streaming and endless options, the ritual persists. The game becomes the frame for the evening, something comforting, predictable, and deeply Canadian. And when the night ends, you've participated in a tradition that's older than most people watching, a quiet weekly ceremony that says, "This is what we do. This is who we are." Every November, Canadians wear a small red poppy pinned to their coats, sweaters, or shirts. It appears at schools, workplaces, grocery stores, everywhere. Remembrance Day, November 11th, is when the country pauses to honor those who served and sacrificed in wars. The poppy is the visible symbol of that remembrance. You get your poppy from a veteran or a volunteer. You pin it carefully, knowing it'll probably fall off by week's end. Those pins are notoriously bad. But you replace it. You keep wearing it. At 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month, you stop. Wherever you are, you observe a moment of silence. Classrooms go quiet. Offices pause. The ritual is simple, solemn, and shared. You adjust your poppy absent-mindedly throughout the day, and each time you touch it, you're pulled back to the meaning, memory, sacrifice, gratitude. It's one of Canada's most quietly powerful traditions, a small red flower carrying the weight of history on every lapel. Kraft Dinner, shortened to KD, is more than boxed mac and cheese. It's a Canadian staple, a childhood taste memory, a quick meal that somehow feels like home. The blue box is iconic. The powdered cheese cloud when you open the packet, the way butter melts into neon orange sauce that coats every noodle. Canadians eat KD unironically. It's cheap, fast, kid-proof, and nostalgic. You make it after school, after work, at 2 in the morning when nothing else sounds right. Some people add hot dogs, some mix in ketchup, others eat it plain, exactly as the box intended. You stir, taste, maybe add extra cheese powder. 4. Science. And suddenly you're transported. Back to being 8 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, everything simpler. KD isn't fancy. It doesn't pretend to be. But in Canada, it's comfort in a pot, a shared experience that crosses generations and income levels. And when someone mentions KD, you don't need context, you just know. Ketchup-flavored chips are a Canadian identity marker, the tangy, sweet, slightly vinegary red dust that coats your fingers and turns them into evidence. To Canadians, this flavor is normal, something you grow up with, reach for at gas stations, pack for road trips. To outsiders, it's baffling. The loyalty is real. Canadians defend ketchup chips with the same energy usually reserved for sports teams. You offer one to a foreign friend and watch their face cycle through confusion, skepticism, reluctant acceptance, and sometimes genuine enjoyment. But more often, they politely decline a second chip while you crush half the bag without thinking. The red dust gets everywhere. Fingertips, steering wheels, shirt fronts. You've learned not to touch anything important mid-snack, yet the flavor persists because it works. It's a uniquely Canadian taste flex, a reminder that just because something seems weird doesn't mean it's wrong. And every time you see that red bag on a shelf, there's a small flicker of pride. This is ours. May Long is shorthand for the Victoria Day long weekend, but it's more than a date. It's a cultural calendar marker. When someone asks, plans for May Long, your brain immediately pictures lakes, campfires, coolers, the first real taste of summer freedom. This is the weekend that launches everything. First cottage trip, first camping adventure, first time you realize bugs are already out, and it's somehow worse than you remembered. Traffic jams leaving the city, grocery stores cleaned out of charcoal and marshmallows, everyone migrating north or to the water, chasing sunshine and the ritual of outdoor living. The phrase May Long carries all of that. No need to explain, no need for context. It's understood. And when the weekend arrives, Canadians participate in a mass seasonal migration, shedding winter layers and work stress, embracing mud, mosquitoes, and the glorious chaos of spring finally becoming summer. Thanks for watching. If this brought back memories you didn't know you still had, hit that like button. It helps us keep digging through Canada's forgotten corners.